You are about to leave this house, not by chance, but because a plan has been set in place for you long before you realized it. What awaits you ahead will change both your life and who you are. And here's why. You are about to step out of the familiar door, leaving behind everything you have called home for so many years. Not because of coincidence, but because an invisible hand has arranged for you to go to a new place, a place that holds opportunities, people, and moments that will transform your entire journey. The question is, are you ready to step into this new chapter? If you are hearing me now, understand that nothing is random. Everything has a reason, and the reason you are here, hearing these words, is because you are about to enter a period of great change. I want you to listen closely, because what I say next will speak directly to the path you are on. You have been sensing this for some time, a vague yet undeniable feeling, like a faint current running through your thoughts, as if an invisible door is trembling before it opens. That is the sign that you are about to leave your current home and move to a completely new place. But I want you to understand, this is not just a geographical change. This is a spiritual leap, a shift in the way you perceive life and how you walk through it. Just as I once experienced moments like this, when everything familiar and seemingly solid suddenly felt too small for what I was about to do. Like when I had to leave South Africa for the US, leaving behind all safety, habits, and comfort zones I had known. Back then, I didn't know exactly where I was going, but I knew for certain I could not stay. You are at that point too. The house you live in has once been the place where you found safety. It has witnessed your smiles, the times you cried in silence, the nights you prayed alone, and the moments you thought you couldn't go on but still rose again. It is the place where you built part of who you are today, but every journey has its limit. A space may be big enough for an older version of you, but too small for the person you are becoming. And if you cling to it, refusing to move, you will miss what lies ahead. I want you to fully understand this. This transition has been arranged long ago. Every detail, every turning point, every unexpected event in recent times has been pushing you forward, guiding you to a place you have never set foot in, but has been prepared for you in advance. I know how you feel now, both excited and anxious. You think about what you will have to leave behind, the people you know, the habits you've built, and you wonder if you are doing the right thing. But remember, all great things begin with uncertainty. I have never started a company knowing the full outcome. No one ever truly knows. We can only know that if we stand still, we will miss out. It's like standing on the edge of a cliff, seeing a narrow bridge connecting to the other side. You're not sure it's strong enough to hold your steps, but you know the other side is where you need to be. You can stay here forever imagining it, or you can step on and walk. And as you walk, each plank of the bridge will appear under your feet. What I'm saying is, don't think you're stepping into emptiness. You are stepping into a plan made specifically for you, a blueprint designed for only one person, and that person is you. I want you to believe this, not because I said it, but because you have seen it repeat in your life. Remember the times you thought you would fail, but another door opened. Remember the moments when you had nothing, but someone appeared at just the right time. Those are not coincidences. That is how life operates. Always leading you to where you need to be if you dare to move. You are leaving a house, but in reality, you are leaving behind a chapter that has completed its purpose. And you will enter a new space, not just to live, but to expand your mind, your heart, and your potential. Imagine your new home as a massive upgrade of yourself, where everything is enhanced. Energy, opportunities, relationships, and even the way you see the world. You will have awkward first days, restless nights, but then mornings when you wake up and realize, this is where I need to be. I know you may still hesitate, but remember, no progress ever happens in complete comfort. You will not become greater by standing still in a place you know too well. Just as I had to sell everything I had, from PayPal to bet on SpaceX and Tesla, when everyone thought I had lost my mind. But if I hadn't done that, I would never have known my true limits. You are the same. This is the time to leave the familiar space and step into the unknown. And you will not walk alone. People will appear to help you. Opportunities will only open when you dare to move away from the old shore. Above all, there is still a hand guiding you step by step, even when you don't realize it. So keep your eyes forward. Don't just think about leaving, think about what you will find. A new chapter awaits, and it will rewrite the way you live the rest of your life. And you will know, when you get there, that it all began at this moment, the moment you decided to trust the journey. Your current house is not just a structure of brick or concrete. It is a living memory woven from countless moments. Every wall, every corner holds fragments of your life. This is where you laughed loudly when unexpected good news arrived, where you prayed silently through long sleepless nights, where you stumbled and stood up by yourself, where you returned after days of storms outside. It has been your safe zone, your anchor, the place that restored you after failures and nurtured your dreams. I deeply understand the value of such a place because I too have had homes like that in my life. Not just physical houses, but environments, phases that embraced me when I needed stability the most. But what most people don't realize is that a home, no matter how precious, is only a stop, not the destination. You may love it, cherish it, but if you stay too long, you will feel its walls slowly close in on you. The space that once made you feel safe will start to become cramped for the new version of you. And when that happens, you will realize you are no longer growing as before. I have experienced this more than once. When I was at Zip2, it was the first home in my entrepreneurial journey. It gave me more than I expected: experience, confidence, relationships. But eventually I realized I had learned all I could there. And if I stayed just because I was afraid to leave, I would have missed the chance to create PayPal. That's when I understood you can love a phase, love a space, but don't turn it into a cage for yourself. Your house has fulfilled its role. It has protected you, supported you, helped you become who you are today. But now, as you have changed, as your vision and inner energy have shifted, it can no longer meet your growth needs. Just like a young tree needs a bigger pot when its roots are full, you too need a new environment to keep growing. Attachment to your old home is natural. People tend to cling to the familiar because it gives a sense of control. But if you cling only to that feeling, you will close the door to opportunities you have never known. Remember, every brick, every door, every ray of light streaming through the windows in your old home has prepared you for the next step. The old house is not where you will stay forever, but the foundation on which you will build the future. You may still remember the mornings when sunlight flooded the room, the familiar smell of coffee, the sound of footsteps on wooden floors. These details are like lines of code in a program, once necessary, but if you want to upgrade the entire system, you have to rewrite and optimize them. I have had to rewrite my environment many times, from leaving a familiar office to build SpaceX's base, to stepping away from safe operational routines to test new approaches at Tesla. Each time carried risk, but the value I gained far exceeded the safety I had left behind. Your old home is the same. It has challenged you and nurtured you at the same time. It has helped you grow, and because of that, now is the time to leave. When you look back, you will see this house as an important chapter. It holds many lessons, emotions, memories, but no one reads the same chapter forever when they want to know the whole story. And the new chapter cannot begin if you do not close this page. You may worry, if I leave, will I find somewhere better? That question is normal. But remember, what has brought you here will not abandon you in the next stage. You have learned how to survive, how to overcome, how to build. And those very skills and experiences will be your luggage to step into your new home and make it even better than the present. I have left spaces that helped me build my reputation and wealth, not because they were bad, but because I knew I would be limited if I stayed. Your old house is the same. It served the right time. But keeping you now would keep you from the growth you deserve. The old house is proof of your strength, resilience, and faith over the years. Be grateful for it. Look back at what it has given you: warmth, peaceful nights, shelter in storms, and understand that those experiences have created someone strong enough to embrace the new. When you leave, you do not lose this house. You carry it with you in your memories, in the way you live, in the lessons you have carved deep, and most importantly, you will carry its spirit into the new place to continue writing your story. I know very well that whenever you face a major change, the first thing you feel is not excitement, but a quiet, persistent anxiety. It seeps into every thought, making you ask countless questions. If I leave, will things really be better? Will I be capable enough to adapt to the new environment? What if I fail? And it is precisely these questions that have kept many people standing still their entire lives, even when opportunity has knocked more than once. Are you in that situation right now, looking ahead, wanting to move forward, yet feeling as though your feet are anchored to the present? If the answer is yes, I want you to remember this. Fear before change is normal. It is not a sign you are going the wrong way. It is proof that you are about to step outside your comfort zone. When I left South Africa for the US with almost nothing but a dream and a small amount of money, I had no idea what the future would hold. When I sold all my shares in PayPal to pour into Tesla and SpaceX, most people thought I had lost my mind. They couldn't understand why I would give up financial security to dive headfirst into something with an almost certain risk of failure. But I knew that if I let fear keep me still, I would never know the true limits of what I could do. The greatest fear you feel is simply the mind's natural resistance to the unknown. The human brain craves certainty, yet certainty rarely delivers breakthroughs. You know this. And I believe that deep down, you also feel that it is time to move, even if your palms are sweating and your heart beats faster than usual. I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer with complete honesty. If right now you had the chance to step out of your old house and into a new environment, would you take it? If your answer is yes, type in the comments, "I am ready for change," or simply press the number 1 so I know you are here, you are listening, and you have decided to trust your own step forward. I mean it when I say this is the most precious thing for a creator like me. To know that what I share is connecting with a real person, making a real impact. I am more grateful for that than anything else. Understand this. You don't need to completely erase your fear before starting. None of us wait until we are no longer afraid to do something important. I have never launched a rocket in a state of complete certainty, but I still did it. Because I know that waiting for absolute certainty is just another way of saying, I will never do it. And I refuse to live like that. The change you are about to face, moving from the old house to the new one, is not just a change in living space. It is a transformation of the mind and soul. It will force you to learn how to adapt, how to trust what you cannot yet see. And that is exactly what brings true growth. Think back to the times you have changed in the past. Didn't you always feel fear at first, but then, once things began to fall into place, you realized you had become stronger, smarter, and far more confident? This time will be no different. In fact, I dare say what awaits you ahead will make you look back and wonder why you were ever so afraid. Fear is not the enemy. It is a signal. It is telling you, hey, there is something important ahead. And when you dare to cross the line of fear, you will find a life you never even dared to dream of. So if you are feeling anxious right now, know that you are in the right place at the right time. You simply have to choose. Stay still in false safety, or move forward to embrace a new reality full of potential. That decision is yours, and I believe you already know the answer. And if you truly are ready, don't keep it to yourself. Let me see you through a simple comment. I am ready for change, or just the number 1. Let me know you are here, that my words are reaching you. I will treasure that as an invaluable reward for this journey, because trust me, this is only the beginning. What's waiting for you ahead will make you thank yourself for not letting fear hold you back. Look back at the story of the Israelites when they left Egypt. They had lived in slavery for hundreds of years, oppressed, exploited, and it seemed all hope for freedom had long since died. Then one day, the opportunity came. They were called to leave that place and head to the Promised Land. It sounded wonderful, but in reality, none of them knew exactly where that land was, what it looked like, or how they would survive there. They only knew they had to leave, and they had to trust the guidance given to them. When I think about their journey, I realize one thing. Every great transition shares the same pattern: absolute uncertainty at the starting point, and unexpected provision along the way. The Israelites had to step out of their comfort zone, even though that comfort zone was actually a life full of hardship. That is the paradox of human nature. We can be more willing to endure familiar suffering than to face the unknown, even if the unknown could be much better. When I started SpaceX, experts predicted nearly a 100% chance of failure. We didn't have NASA's resources, We had no real rocket launching experience, and each failure meant hundreds of millions of dollars lost. But if I had let myself be chained by the fear of failure, SpaceX would never exist, and countless advances in space technology would never have happened. The Israelites were the same. If they had stayed put, they would have remained slaves forever. But when they went, even though the path was unclear, they began to see miracles happen. Water sprang from rock, food, manna fell from heaven each day to feed them. Enemies were pushed back, and barriers that seemed impossible to cross opened up. I want you to see the connection with your own journey. You are standing before a decision to leave your Egypt, perhaps your old house, a living environment, a job, or a lifestyle too small for your growth. You know it no longer fits, but you cannot yet see clearly where your promised land is. And because you can't see it clearly, you hesitate. But if the Israelites had waited until they could see all the maps, calculate all risks, and guarantee 100% safety, they would never have moved. They chose to trust the promise that the way would open once they began the journey. And that is how life works. The most important details often appear only after you've committed to moving forward. There is another point in the story that strikes me. The provision didn't come in advance, it came just in time. Manna didn't fall for a month or a year at once, it came daily, just enough for that day's need. That forced them to trust continually, step by step. In business, I've experienced the same thing many times. There were times Tesla was almost out of cash, and without a timely investment at the exact moment, the company would have gone bankrupt. But I couldn't sit and wait for all resources to be ready before starting. Neither can you. If you wait for everything to be stable before you change, you will wait your whole life. Think about this. The Israelites were not only moving geographically, they were transforming their mindset and their faith. They had to learn to believe they were worthy of freedom, that they could live a life unchained. This is also your biggest challenge, not finding a new house, but believing you are worthy of your new chapter. If your mind still clings to your old self-pittage, still thinks you only fit the old circumstances, then even when you step into a new environment, you will still be limited by your own thinking. What I learned from the Israelite story is this. The journey of change is always a test of faith. Faith is not the warm feeling when everything is easy. It is the decision to keep moving when you can't see the destination. You will have your own Red Seas ahead, obstacles that seem impossible to cross, but they will part when you actually step into the water. When I bet all the money I had on the fourth Falcon 1 launch, I didn't know if it would succeed. The first three had failed. If the fourth failed, everything was over. But I had learned that sometimes the very moment you put everything on the line is the moment the greatest doors open, and it happened. Falcon 1 succeeded, SpaceX survived and continued to grow. Your journey may be much the same. The new house you're about to move into is not just a different location, it is a declaration that you are ready to trust the journey, to trust the guidance, and to trust that everything you need will come exactly when you need it. This change will require you to let go of certainty, to learn to live with ambiguity, and to believe you will be led step by step. The Israelites proved it could be done, not through their own strength, but through their willingness to trust and act. If you can embrace that spirit, you will see that every resource, every opportunity, and every connection you need for your new chapter will appear when you need them. And then one day you will look back and realize that the initial fear was only a small part of a much bigger story, the story of how you dared to step forward, despite all the unknowns, to find your own promised land. When one old door closes, the human instinct is to look back. You look at what is familiar, what once brought you safety, and part of you wants to hold on tight to it. But if your eyes stay fixed on the past, you will miss the chance to see the path opening ahead. Facing the future with hope is not just an emotional piece of advice, it is a life strategy. Hope is the fuel that keeps you moving even when the road is unclear. It is what keeps your mind open to new possibilities instead of shutting down in regret. I have witnessed this throughout my life. When selling PayPal, I could have easily retired, enjoyed wealth, and never worked under stress again. But had I chosen that, SpaceX would not exist, Tesla would not exist, and millions of people would never be inspired by things once thought impossible. I chose to look toward the future, not because I knew I would succeed, but because I knew that if I clung to the present, I would lose the chance to create something bigger than myself. You are at a similar point now. Your current house is part of your memory, but the new house is not just 4 new walls. It is a symbol of a beginning. It is a blank canvas for you to paint images never seen before, to create experiences you never imagined. Picture this. You step into a new space. Different light, different air, different sounds. You have no habits here yet, no memories, and that is the opportunity. Every day you live in the new space, you are laying the first bricks of a new chapter. Here's the important thing. When you step into the future, you must know that every action, every choice, every thought now has the power to shape the reality to come. If you move with a heavy mind, you will bring the past into the present. But if you move with hope, you will open possibilities that your former self could never reach. Looking to the future with hope does not mean ignoring reality. I never had the illusion things would be easy. When starting Tesla, I knew we would face skepticism, financial pressure, and countless technical barriers. But hope allowed me to see the bigger picture, a future where electric cars were not just a niche option, but the global standard. Without that hope, I would have quit at the first crisis. Hope is not a passive feeling, it is an active choice. You choose to believe tomorrow can be better than today, and then you act on that belief. You choose to look at opportunities rather than risks, at possibilities rather than limits. When you move into your new home, carry that choice with you. Ask yourself, what feeling do I want to create here? How do I want to wake up every day in this house? Don't let it just be a place to live. Make it an environment that nurtures new dreams. The wonderful thing about the future is that it is unwritten. You can learn from the past, but the future is still a blank page. When you face it with hope, you hand yourself the pen to write your story the way you want. You will have days when things don't go your way. That's when hope is truly tested. In those moments, remember why you started. Remember the moment you decided to leave the old house, to give up the comfort zone to seek something greater. Remember you were once brave enough to step forward, and you can continue. I believe that if you keep your vision clear and your beliefs strong, you will see that the future is not just a destination, but a journey. And each step on that journey, taken in hope, will bring you closer to the life you truly want. Changing homes is a powerful symbol of inner transformation. You are not just changing where you live, you are changing how you live, how you think, and how you feel about yourself. The future you move toward will reflect exactly the hope you carry. If you carry worry, you will see worry in every corner. If you carry gratitude and hope, you will see it bloom in every moment you live here. Look forward and picture yourself in a place where you feel peaceful, energized, and surrounded by people and opportunities that help you grow. Let that image be the compass for every action you take now, because I have learned one thing. We tend to achieve what we deeply believe and consistently act toward. And for you, the new home is just the starting point for a chain of positive changes you are about to experience. The future will come whether you are ready or not. The difference is, if you face it with hope, you will receive it as a creator, not as someone swept along. And I believe that once you step into this journey with an open heart, the future will give you far more than you ever expected. Letting go of burdens is one of the most important steps for entering your new chapter lightly and fully. You cannot bring everything from your old home into your new one and expect to feel freer and more comfortable. This is not only true for physical possessions, but also for emotions, memories, and outdated beliefs. When I left a project or a company to start something new, I had to leave behind many things once deeply attached to me, not just assets or offices, but also relationships, processes, even ideas I once believed were irreplaceable. At first, it felt like losing a part of myself. But then I realized, if I kept holding on to what was old, I would have no room for what was better. You are the same. In your old home, there are surely things you keep not because you need them, but because they are tied to some memory. The problem is, not every memory nurtures you. Some are like rocks in a backpack. The farther you go, the heavier they weigh. You must bravely look at them and ask, does this truly serve the person I am becoming? If the answer is no, put it down. Letting go does not mean denying the value of the past, but accepting that its role is complete. I have had to let go of many beliefs I once saw as foundational. When starting Tesla, I believed the market would quickly adopt electric cars if the technology was good and the price reasonable. But reality forced me to abandon the idea of quickly and accept a much longer-term strategy. Rigidity in thinking has cost me before, and I learned that the ability to let go of old views to embrace new approaches is essential for survival. In your moving journey, there will be things hard to part with. Objects, habits, even deeply ingrained ways of thinking. But remember, keeping them not only takes up physical space, it also occupies your mental energy. A cabinet stuffed with unused things will always create a heavy feeling when you open it. Your mind works the same. Cabinets full of regret, anger, or worry will drain you and leave no room for creativity and joy. One principle I live by: if something no longer helps me move forward, it no longer belongs to me. This requires ruthless honesty with yourself, because sometimes we hold on to things simply out of fear of the emptiness they leave behind. But that very emptiness is what you need, because it will be filled with something newer and better. Imagine walking into your new home with fewer items, more open space, sunlight pouring in more easily. You will feel lighter, freer, more at ease. That is not just the result of rearranging furniture, but the feeling of freeing yourself from what holds you back. Letting go is also an act of trust. When you release something, you are telling yourself you believe in your ability to find something better ahead. You believe you do not have to hold on to everything to feel complete. When I sold all my personal assets to fund Tesla and SpaceX, I didn't do it because I enjoyed living with less. I did it because I believed in the vision I was pursuing. I knew that what I left behind could not compare to what I would gain if I succeeded. And even if I failed, I could still start over, unbound by what no longer fit. In your case, letting go may also include forgiveness for others and for yourself. Hurts, grudges, or self-blame are heavy cargo you don't need to carry into your new chapter. Forgiveness is not condoning the wrong, but freeing yourself from the emotional weight it creates. You will find that once your mind is freed, you will have far more energy to invest in what truly matters. Take time to review each part of your life, material, mental, emotional, and ask, does this still serve the future I want to build? If the answer is no, be brave enough to set it down. You don't have to do it all at once. Letting go is a process. Every small step will make your load lighter, and every bit lighter will help you move faster forward. Ultimately, letting go of burdens is not just an act to prepare for moving into a new house. It is a life philosophy. It is how you ensure you are always ready for change, always adaptable to opportunity, and never trapped by the past. As you enter this new chapter, do so with an open heart and open hands, ready to receive, but also ready to release anything that no longer fits. Because I have learned this: you cannot fly far if you are still clutching the stones of yesterday. The story of Ruth has always been a powerful testament to the strength of commitment and faith in the midst of uncertainty. Ruth was not Jewish, but when her husband died and her mother-in-law, Naomi, decided to return to her hometown in Bethlehem, Ruth made a decision most people would call reckless: to leave her homeland, to leave everything familiar, and follow Naomi to a foreign land. This decision was not only an act of love, but also a pledge to a future Ruth could not possibly predict. I look at this story and see something familiar. No one can precisely calculate the road ahead, but if you trust enough to take the step, you will open possibilities you never imagined. Ruth did not know how she would earn a living, how the people there would treat her, or if she would even be accepted. But she knew one thing: she would not go back to the past, and she would move forward with faith that a new future could be better. This reminds me of moments in my own life when I had to choose to give up safety to pursue a vision no one else could yet see. When I started SpaceX, it was not just about launching a rocket company. It was betting everything on an idea the world largely considered insane. I didn't know if we could survive the early failures, but like Ruth, I knew going back was impossible, because going back meant abandoning the vision I believed in. Ruth entered a new land and began with the humblest of tasks, gleaning leftover grain from the fields to find food. Not everyone is willing to start again from zero in a new environment, but that is the difference. Starting over is not failure. It is accepting that every great journey begins with small steps. And when you persist in those small steps, you create the chance for great doors to open. It was through her hard work and humble attitude that Ruth caught the attention of Boaz, a relative of Naomi. Boaz not only helped Ruth, but eventually married her. This did not just completely change Ruth's life. It placed her in the lineage of King David and, further on, made her part of the genealogy of Jesus. Think about that. A single decision to leave the past and commit to an uncertain future changed not only Ruth's destiny, but left an eternal mark on history. In your life, you might be in a similar If you are preparing to leave your old home, remember that the journey may be unclear, but every step taken with faith and loyalty will bring you closer to the good you cannot yet envision. Like Ruth, you may need to do small, humble things at first, but do not underestimate them. They are the foundation upon which your future will be built. And sometimes one courageous decision in the present can create an impact that lasts for generations. I believe that if you keep Ruth's spirit willing to leave the old, steadfast in what you believe, and ready to start again, even from the lowest position, you will open doors you once thought didn't exist. And when you look back, you will see that every challenge was simply a stepping stone toward the very best life has for you. The power of a promise does not lie in the sound of its words, but in its ability to guide someone through fear and doubt to keep moving forward, even when the road ahead is unclear. A promise is like a lighthouse in the dark. It doesn't pull you to the shore instantly, but it gives you a point to fix your eyes on and maintain your direction. In the journey of change, especially when leaving a familiar place to step into a completely new environment, a promise can be the only thing you cling to when everything else around you is unsettled. I have lived my life based on promises in the broad sense, not just promises between people, but commitments I have made to myself. When starting SpaceX, my promise was not just to put rockets into orbit, it was the promise that I would not stop until space travel became normal, opening the door for humanity to become a multiplanetary species. That promise kept me steady through 3 consecutive launch failures when everyone around me advised stopping to avoid losing more money and reputation. A promise not only gives you a goal, it also shields you from wavering when obstacles arise. When you keep a promise, you are saying, I will continue even when your emotions want to quit. For the Israelites, the promise of the Promised Land kept them walking through the desert for 40 years, despite burning heat, parching thirst, and lurking dangers. That promise didn't change, even when they couldn't see the day it would be fulfilled. For you, when stepping out of your old home, the promise may not be of a specific place, but of a vision for a new life. One where you feel more at peace, more inspired, and with more opportunities to grow. You may not know exactly what it looks like, but you must hold that image in your mind as a promise to yourself. A promise must be nurtured with action. It's not something you say once and forget. Every step you take, every decision you make, should reflect your commitment to that promise. If your promise is to make your new home a place full of positive energy, then even as you pack, you must choose only to bring what serves that energy. When I promised that Tesla would make electric cars that were not only clean, but beautiful and powerful, we didn't just focus on battery technology. We obsessed over every detail to ensure design, driving experience, and performance reached a level people would love. Every decision, big or small, revolved around that promise, and that consistency created results. There's something interesting about a promise. It doesn't just affect you, it affects those around you. When you live with consistency, others begin to believe in your journey, and sometimes they'll support you simply because they believe in the promise you're pursuing. I saw this when Tesla was near bankruptcy in 2008. We didn't have enough money to keep producing, but those who believed in our vision and promise invested, not because the current situation looked bright, but because they knew we wouldn't give up. A promise also creates discipline. Once you publicly commit to something, even if only to yourself, you bind yourself to live by it. This is especially important during transitions. The first days in a new home may feel empty, unfamiliar, and even make you want to go back, but the promise will keep you there, reminding you that you chose this for a reason greater than a temporary feeling. However, a promise only has power if it truly means something. Don't make promises you don't feel deeply connected to. A shallow promise will break easily under pressure, but a promise born of strong belief will become your pillar in the storm. I once said we would put humans on Mars in my lifetime. Many laughed, thinking it was PR or delusion, but to me it was a serious promise, not just to myself, but to humanity. And treating it as a true promise forces me to act every day to get closer to that goal. In your journey, define clearly the promise you will carry when leaving your old home. Make it your morning reminder, your filter for decisions, and your reason to keep going, even when things get hard. A promise will not make the road easy, but it will make you steadfast enough to finish it. And when you reach the destination, you will realize that the reward is not just the new home or new life, but the fact that keeping the promise has shaped you into a stronger, clearer, and more confident version of yourself. Because in the end, the power of a promise is not only in its fulfillment, but in how it has shaped you throughout the process. And if you know how to harness that power, you can go much further than you ever thought possible. Every step you take in this stage is not just a physical movement, but a declaration of faith. When you leave your old home and head toward your new one, you are telling yourself and the world that you believe in the path you have chosen, even without seeing the whole picture. Faith is not knowing the outcome for certain. It is trusting that each step you take will lead to that outcome, even when everything is still unclear. I have felt this many times. When I founded SpaceX, we had no history of success, no precedent to lean on. Every rocket launch was a massive gamble in money, time, and reputation. The first 3 launches failed. After each failure, the easiest choice was to quit. But I knew that if I wanted to change the history of space exploration, I had to keep moving forward. Each decision to launch again was an act of faith, not because I was certain we would succeed, but because I believed in the vision and in my team's ability. When you move into a new environment, there will be moments when you wonder if you've made the right choice. The first day in your new home might not feel right immediately. You might miss the familiar scent of your old house, the sound of footsteps on its worn floors, or the corner where you often sat. These moments can shake you, and it's precisely then that each step you take must be placed in faith. Faith helps you move through the stage of not yet seeing results. It keeps you steady when the outcome is still in the future. As you unpack each box, arrange your belongings, and adjust to the new surroundings, remember that each small action is bringing you closer to your bigger goal, the new life you chose. The key is to understand that faith does not remove challenges. On the contrary, it helps you face them without quitting. In business, I've made decisions that even those closest to me thought were insane. When Tesla was on the brink of bankruptcy in 2008, I chose to pour my last remaining funds into the company instead of keeping them for my own safety. I had no certainty that this would save Tesla, but I believed in my vision, and I knew that without action, it would all be over. That decision was purely a step of faith. When you move into a new phase of life, ask yourself, what am I placing my faith in? It might be faith that you deserve a better environment, that you will find more positive relationships, or that this change will open growth opportunities you have never had. That belief will be the foundation for each step you take. One thing I've learned is that when you keep walking in faith, you begin to build positive momentum. At first, each step feels heavy, but once you've gone far enough, you realize you're much farther from where you started, and confidence begins to replace doubt. Remember, faith is like a muscle. It grows stronger when exercised. The more you take steps without needing to see the full road, the easier it becomes to do so in the future. And each time, you're not just getting closer to your goal, you're becoming stronger, more adaptable, and more steadfast. Sometimes faith requires you to accept that there will be steps backward. You might face obstacles or see a plan fall apart. But each time remember that a step back is not failure. It's just part of the rhythm of the journey, and as long as you keep moving forward, you're still on the right path. I often say that failure is not the end, but simply data for adjustment. Faith allows you to see failure this way instead of treating it as a reason to stop. In the moving process, view everything, from exploring a new area to rearranging furniture to meeting neighbors, as acts of faith. You are laying the foundation for a new life, and every small thing you do is a brick in that foundation. You may not see the full picture now, but later, when you look back, you'll realize it was these steady steps that created the change you wanted. Ultimately, I want you to understand that faith is not vague or distant. It is something you practice daily by continuing forward even when your mind wants to stop. Whenever you feel doubt, remember why you started. Remember the image of the future you chose, and let each step you take stand as living proof that you believe in this journey, not because it is easy, but because it is worth it. When you hold on to faith through each small step, you will see yourself not only reaching where you want to be, but becoming a better, stronger version of yourself. And that is the greatest reward any journey can offer. No one is meant to walk the entire journey alone. No matter how strong you are, there will be times when you need a helping hand, an encouraging word, or simply the presence of someone who understands you. When you leave your old home and step into a new environment, there will be moments when you feel as if you're standing in an empty, open land. But the truth is, you are never truly alone. There are always people who have been, are, and will be placed in the right position at the right time to be the support you need. I have seen this play out repeatedly in my life. When starting Tesla, I faced extremely stressful months, financially and under public pressure. But in moments when I felt near exhaustion, there were always people ready to stand with me. It could be an engineer working through the night to meet a deadline, an investor who believed in the vision when others doubted, or a friend who showed up just to listen. These people did not appear by chance. They were part of the journey, like relay points on a long race. When you enter your new home, open your eyes to recognize such companions. They might be a neighbor willing to help as you adjust to the area, a new colleague offering valuable insights, or an old friend unexpectedly reconnecting. Each of them can play a role as links in a chain of support that helps you adapt and grow. The important thing is to understand that this relationship is not one way. When someone is placed beside you, they're not only there to help you, you're also placed beside them to help them in some way. This is a principle I deeply believe. Every genuine connection is reciprocal. In business, I never see the best people as my assets. I see them as partners, people I am equally responsible for adding value to. Trust and collaboration only flourish when both sides feel valued. To receive real support, you need to allow yourself to be just vulnerable enough for others to see what you need. Many people make the mistake of trying to appear fine in every situation, but that only isolates them. When I was in SpaceX's toughest times, I learned to be open with the team about our situation and what was necessary to keep going. That openness sparked solidarity and helped everyone work together to find solutions. In personal life, the same principle applies. If you are entering a new environment, don't be afraid to start conversations, share your story, or admit that you are still adjusting. You will be surprised how many are willing to help simply because they've been where you are. Another thing to remember, not everyone by your side will stay for the long haul. Some will only appear for a short season, but their role at that time can be vital. Like in a major project, specialists may be brought in just to solve a specific problem, and when it's done, they leave. They don't disappear because they weren't important. They leave because their role was completed. Appreciate each person, whether your time together is long or short. As you start your new journey, actively seek and build meaningful connections. This doesn't mean trying to be friends with everyone, but finding relationships aligned with your direction and values. Quality matters more than quantity. A few deep relationships will impact you more than dozens of shallow ones. In my experience, many of my biggest breakthroughs began with honest conversations with a small group I trusted. And finally, remember that you can also be the one placed beside someone else at the moment they need it. Sometimes the best way to receive support is to first become a source of support for others. When you give value, help, and trust to others, you create a positive circle that will eventually return to you. A new home, a new environment, or any new chapter can make you feel like you're starting from scratch. But if you recognize that this journey always has people placed at the right time and place, you will walk with much greater assurance. And sometimes, just one person believing in you at the right moment can change everything. I am certain that if you keep yourself open, willing to connect, and unafraid to give value, the companions you need will always appear, and your journey will become lighter and far more meaningful. When you stand before the door of your new home, it may feel like you have reached the end of a long journey. You've packed, let go, moved on, and walked forward. But in reality, everything you've just gone through is only the prelude. This is not the end, but the beginning of an entirely new chapter. A stage where every choice and every action from now on will shape the future in ways you've never imagined. I have experienced this moment many times. When we successfully placed SpaceX's first rocket into orbit after 3 failures, many people thought that was the pinnacle of the journey, but to me, it was only the beginning. Because I knew the goal was not just to launch one rocket, but to build the foundation for dozens, hundreds of flights, to make space travel routine. In the same way, stepping into your new home is not merely about changing residence. It's about creating an entirely new context, a space where your untapped potential can be revealed and developed. Every beginning holds both excitement and challenges. On the first day, everything may look fresh, clean, and full of promise. But soon you will see the tasks to be done, the new habits to form, and the small details to adjust. This is not a sign of failure, but a natural characteristic of any beginning. The difference between those who seize new opportunities and those who let them slip away is in how they approach this stage. If you see your new home as the destination, you will soon feel a letdown when the initial excitement fades. But if you see it as a launch pad, every day you will find a new reason to move forward. I have seen many projects fail, not because the ideas were bad, but because the team saw the initial success as enough. They stopped, grew complacent, and lost momentum. Meanwhile, those who understood that early success was merely a sign they were on the right track kept accelerating, improving, and expanding. Your new home is the same, it's just the frame. The rest depends on how you fill it with habits, goals, and new relationships. Every wall, every room, every corner can become a symbol for a part of a life you want to build. Remember, a fresh start doesn't guarantee better results if you bring your old way of living into it. Changing location is a chance to redesign your rhythm of life, to remove what used to slow you down, and to try new approaches. In my work, I often follow one principle. Whenever I start a new project, I see it as an opportunity to reset the standards, not just to keep what has worked, but to be ready to remove or improve what wasn't optimal, even if it felt familiar and safe. This is how you turn a beginning into a leap. A beginning is also the best time to build long-term momentum. The first days are often filled with energy and excitement, but the true power of a beginning is in turning that initial energy into sustainable habits. If you want your new home to be a peaceful place, start creating space for calm now. If you want it to be a hub of creativity, set up the environment and schedule for creative work while everything still feels new. The best part of a beginning is that everything is still flexible. You're not yet bound by too many fixed habits or trapped in self-imposed limits. This is when it's easiest to experiment, adjust, and discover new possibilities. But this period won't last forever. If you don't use it, you'll quickly slide back into old patterns. I often tell my team, every beginning is a golden chance to make things better from the root. And this applies to both personal life and work. If you've just moved into a new space, don't just arrange your things so they look tidy. Design it to serve the way of living you want to maintain for years to come. Finally, I want to emphasize that seeing a beginning as just the beginning is not about diminishing the value of what you've done. It's about expanding your vision. It helps you avoid complacency and keeps you in a mindset of learning and exploring. When you understand that this is only the first page of a long chapter, you'll invest more in every word you write next. And when you look back, you'll see that this beginning, small and new as it was, became the foundation for far greater achievements. So when you walk through the door of your new home, smile, but don't think you've arrived. You've just left the starting line, and ahead lies a whole track full of opportunity. How you run from here is what will decide how the story is written. Change and growth always go hand in hand, but not everyone accepts this connection. Many want to grow, but try to avoid change. They want new results, but keep their old habits. That's like wanting to build a skyscraper on the foundation of a small house. It will never be strong enough. The truth is, if you want to rise to a new level, you must embrace change, sometimes deep, transformative change, in your environment, your habits, your thinking, and even how you see yourself. Moving into a new home is a clear illustration of this principle. You're not just changing your place of residence, you're creating conditions to expose yourself to new energy, new opportunities, and new challenges. These are exactly the elements that stimulate growth. When I started Tesla, I didn't just want to make an electric car, I wanted to change the entire auto industry. But to do that, my team and I had to be willing to dismantle assumptions that had existed for over a century. We had to change every aspect, from product design, manufacturing processes, to the business model. And it was precisely that comprehensive change that opened the door to growth few could have imagined. Change always requires you to step out of your comfort zone. Your old home, no matter how comfortable, was still a comfort zone. There you knew where everything was, who the people around you were, and how life unfolded. But a comfort zone is not where you grow. It's like a greenhouse. It shields you from the elements, but also prevents you from encountering the forces that make you stronger. Growth requires friction. It demands you face new situations where you must learn to adapt, create, and push beyond your limits. Moving into a new environment means you will have to learn many things from scratch, from navigating a different space, meeting new neighbors, to reorganizing your time and daily habits. At first, this may feel exhausting, but it is precisely this process that opens up new skills and perspectives you will need for bigger goals. An important element of growth is the ability to observe and respond. In a new environment, nothing is fixed yet, which allows you to see more clearly what works and what needs adjustment. In business, I always view the early stage of a new project as the golden time to experiment and optimize, because everything is still flexible. Life works the same way. When you've just changed environments, you have the chance to shape your lifestyle for the better before things become fixed. But change is not always comfortable. It can make you feel lost or even tempted to return to what's familiar. The key is to recognize that this feeling is not a signal to stop, but a sign you are in the zone where growth can happen. A tree cannot grow taller without breaking through its old bark, and humans are no different. I remember when SpaceX moved from only testing small rockets to developing Falcon 9, a project that demanded far greater complexity, cost, and risk. At times, the pressure felt almost unbearable, but I knew that this expansion would take us to a new level. And indeed, Falcon 9 became the foundation for SpaceX's greatest successes. That would not have happened if we had kept doing only what we were used to. Change also has a mental power. It reminds you that you can rewrite your story at any time. You are not bound by what has happened. You are only limited by what you choose to keep the same. Your new home is a physical proof of this. You stand in a place with no history yet, no memories, and you are the one who will create them. You can decide whether this will be a place filled with positive energy or one where old habits return. Change doesn't automatically create growth. It only creates potential. You are the one who decides whether that potential will be realized. To make the most of it, you must enter this stage with proactivity, seeking opportunities, adjusting habits, and facing challenges head on. When you do this, you will find that each step, no matter how small, accumulates into a larger transformation over time. Ultimately, I want you to understand that change and growth are two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without embracing the other. Every time you change, whether it's moving into a new home, starting a new job, or adopting a new way of living, you're giving yourself a chance to become a better version of yourself. And each time you grow, you're preparing for the next change. This cycle never ends, and that's what makes life exciting. If you learn to love this process, you won't just survive disruptions, you'll turn them into fuel to achieve what you once thought was impossible. The example of the disciples is a clear testament to the power of decisive choice and absolute faith in a goal greater than oneself. When Jesus called them, the disciples left everything behind, nets, boats, livelihoods, and even family, to follow a path they had no idea where it would lead. They were given no guarantees of safety, no promise of a clear roadmap, and no material contract or binding commitment. The only thing they had was their faith in the one they followed, and the vision they were willing to give themselves to. I see in this a principle I have applied many times. If you want to achieve something truly extraordinary, you must be willing to leave behind what is familiar and safe. You cannot cling tightly to your anchor and at the same time expect the boat to sail far out to sea. The disciples chose to place their entire lives into a journey without precedent, and it was precisely that choice that changed history. When I started SpaceX, I faced a similar decision, leaving behind the safety of the money I earned from selling PayPal to plunge into a field with an almost certain failure rate. There was no map, no step-by-step guide, only a vision that humanity needed to become a multiplanetary species. The only difference between me and millions of others was not skill or capital, but the decision to act despite uncertainty and risk. What's remarkable about the disciples is that they didn't wait until they had full information to act. They didn't demand a detailed plan or time to prepare. The call came and they responded immediately. In modern life, many people miss great opportunities simply because they want everything to be clear and certain before they start. But in reality, certainty often only appears after you've taken the first step. The new home you are about to move into is also such a call. You don't yet know exactly how everything will unfold, but if you wait until it's all clear, the opportunity will pass. Walking in faith does not mean acting without thought or blind recklessness. It means you have considered, recognized the potential, and decided to act, even though much remains unknown. The disciples left everything they had ever known to pursue a goal greater than themselves, and in return, they experienced things most of the world had never seen: miracles, human transformation, and a sense of purpose far beyond anything they had imagined. I have seen the same in my own projects. When a team of engineers at SpaceX agreed to work 8,100 hours a week for months to save a project on the verge of failure, they were doing the same as the disciples, placing their trust in a vision and committing fully to action. That created a collective strength no difficulty could extinguish. Another key point is that when the disciples walked, they didn't walk alone. They went together, supporting one another, sharing challenges and victories. In any journey, especially one of major change, the power of community is essential. Your new home is not just a space for yourself. It is also a place to build new relationships, seek out and nurture connections that will walk with you through the next highs and lows. The disciples' choice also shows that decisive action can create a chain reaction. When one person chooses to follow, others are inspired to do the same. In my life, I've seen that whenever I am willing to take risks, to pursue a big goal, it not only changes my path, but also encourages those around me to try their own bold dreams. You never know who will be inspired by your decision to move into a new home. It could be an old friend hesitating before an opportunity, or a family member waiting for a signal to change. And perhaps, like the disciples, you will discover that this journey is not just for yourself, but part of something much greater. The last thing I want you to remember from the disciples' example is this: take the step even when you cannot see the whole picture. They didn't know the final destination, but they trusted their leader and the meaning of the journey. You are in a similar place, not knowing every detail, but if you believe in the value of change and commit to living fully in it, you will go much farther than you imagine. And when you look back, you will realize that leaving safety today was the turning point that opened a whole new chapter full of meaning and potential. The new home you are about to enter is not just a random point on the map, nor is it the result of a chain of accidental events. It is a place prepared for you, not only in a physical sense, but also in spirit and meaning. Every detail in your journey here, whether you realize it or not, has been part of that preparation. Even the difficulties, the delays, or the unexpected changes have acted as trials, positioning you at the right moment and in the right state of readiness to receive this place. I have experienced similar feelings many times. When SpaceX launched the Starbase project in Boca Chica, Texas, many people thought we simply chose